Hello there, boys and girls. Another busy week of online learning, remote learning, and I hope that you've enjoyed all of the challenges and the tasks that your teachers have set for you. It's been a tiny bit colder outside this week, hasn't it? So, therefore, I've come inside for our assembly, and I'm in kindergarten, a brilliant place to be. The house behind me, by the way, is the place that my grandchildren really enjoy playing in, and I'm sure many of you have memories of playing in the playhouse, especially in the kitchen and upstairs in that very smart little bedroom that the dollies so love. So, to start our week off, we have a musical performance. Freddie has been working very hard at home with his trombone. So, Freddie, over to you for a trombone performance.
This is Freddie playing Stamp on his trombone. He's finished!
Well, thanks very much, Freddie, for getting our assembly off to a really good start. Now, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about some of the things that have been happening here at school on site. Of course, we've got our key worker lessons. That's the lessons and the childcare for the children who cannot stay at home because their mums and dads are key workers working for the National Health Service or working in care homes or in other very key roles. So that's been continuing right the way through, and obviously it's been nice to see them on site, although it'd be so much nicer, of course, to have all of you with us. Also, in the dance studio, we've had a group of people who've been coming in to make protective equipment, PPE, for those people who are working in the NHS and working in care homes. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about that, and one of the best ways to do that would be to interview Jamie. Jamie's been coming into Hawford on a regular basis to work in the dance studio and to make the PPE, which is then going on to various locations where it's being used by people working with people who have COVID-19 or in other areas in our health service. So here's Jamie to say a little bit about that now. Right, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all?
Yeah, so I'm a student at King's. I'm in the 5th form at the moment, so unfortunately all my exams were cancelled, so I had a lot of time to spare, so I decided to help out with 3D Crowd, and we're making printed PPE for healthcare workers.
Right, thank you. And how did you hear about 3D Crowd?
So I found out about it on a tweet because I've got a 3D printer at home and thought it'd be something that I could do to help during the COVID crisis to help with the PPE shortage.
Thank you. And so tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing, because you're based in the dance studio at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, so in the dance studio we're collecting frames, which is a 3D printed part from all across the West Midlands, and then we clean them in a Milton solution before adding the visors and elastic to them and then shipping them out to healthcare workers.
Right, so afterwards they're going, I mean, how will they be used? Can you tell our children a little bit about how these visors are used?
Yeah, so they're used by doctors and nurses in the NHS to protect them when they're looking after the sick people with COVID-19, to make sure that they don't get COVID-19 themselves, and it kind of acts as a visor in front of their face, in front of their face mask.
Thank you. So it's off to hospitals, I presume, maybe surgeries, perhaps anybody who's...
So it's off to hospitals. We're going to quite a lot of intensive care units, also to GP surgeries and to some care homes that have got COVID outbreaks.
Thank you. And so, Jamie, you would have had your exams this year, so we've got this time you're using now. Are you hoping to stay on after the summer at school?
Yeah, so I'm planning to stay on and study maths, chemistry, biology and physics.
Perfect. Well, look, thank you very much for the work that you're doing. We really appreciate the fact that you are helping those who are helping us. You're doing a brilliant job. So thank you very much, Jamie. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for giving us the call.
Thank you. Well, that was interesting, wasn't it? So Jamie's been coming into the Hawford site on a regular basis, making that PPE for those people who work in the NHS and work in care homes. So well done him. He's certainly been using his time really well. Now, another group using their time really well have been Year 4. Year 4 have been doing some interesting things in their art lessons based on the artist Damien Hirst. Some of you may have seen this because this video has been up on YouTube, as have many of our school videos, but this one I think you'll find very interesting. It also celebrates something that we have seen around the country in all sorts of locations, including, of course, on the Hawford building. As you drive past the Hawford building, you'll see a rainbow, and a rainbow reminds us of the great work being done by the NHS at this time. So here is the Year 4 video of their work on Damien Hirst and rainbows. Well done, our Year 4 boys and girls. A fine video of some fantastic artwork. So well done to all of you for all the great work that you're doing at home. We really do appreciate how hard you've been working, and it's been great to see the work that you've sent in to us, either as part of your normal work or as your response to our Hawford challenges each and every week, which we've really loved seeing. So a story now. We all like stories, don't we? And this one goes back a long, long time to the 2nd century. 2nd century, imagine that. So 200 years or so after the death of Christ, a long, long, long time ago. And at that time, the Romans, really, they ruled almost the entire world. Certainly, they were in charge right across Europe and North Africa. The Roman Empire was huge. One of the very bad things, of course, that happened during the time of the Romans was that some important people kept slaves. Now, slaves are people who have to work for very important people, in this case, a very important Roman, and they don't have any choice about doing that. The person who is in charge of them owns them, looks after them, of course, but doesn't let them leave and doesn't pay them any money at all for working for them. So if you're a slave, it'd be a very bad thing indeed. Now, our slave in our story, is a person called Androcles. Androcles didn't like being a servant at all, didn't like being a slave in particular, and he didn't like the fact that his owner wouldn't let him leave. So one day, he ran away. Now, in Roman times, this was a really, really bad thing to do, because soldiers came looking for you, and if they came and they found you, they would have punished you for being a slave who was bad, bad, bad in terms of running away. It was a bad thing to do. Androcles, of course, wanted his freedom, and as he ran away, he needed to find somewhere to hide. So he found a cave, and he went into the cave and thought, thank goodness for that, I found somewhere to hide. The Romans won't find me in here. However, things were not quite as good as he thought that they were, because he heard a noise behind him. It sounded a bit like a growl, but not quite a growl. And then he realised it was a really big lion. Well, he'd heard about lions, and he knew that lions were dangerous. But this lion, although it was growling, didn't seem to be growling in the normal way. And when Androcles realised that the lion wasn't growling normally, wasn't cross with him, he looked at the lion carefully, and you know what he found? He found the lion had a very big thorn in his foot. And that's why the lion was sort of semi-growling. Wasn't growling at all, it was in pain. He very quietly and very carefully went up to the lion and bravely he removed the thorn from the foot of the lion. And of course the lion was very happy because the pain had gone. And instead of eating Androcles, as Androcles feared it was going to, the lion came up to Androcles and licked him, because the lion was very happy that Androcles had taken away the pain. For months, the lion looked after Androcles and made sure that whenever he brought some food back, that Androcles also had food. Until eventually one day, Androcles thought, I probably need to go on my own travels now. So he crept away from the lion. But no sooner had he found himself on a road when some people came up behind him and said, You're a slave, aren't you? You've escaped. And they grabbed him and took him back to Rome. And when they took him back to Rome, he was taken in front of the Caesar. We think the Caesar in our story is a Caesar called Caligula. And Caligula said, You very bad slave, you've run away from your owner. That is completely unforgivable. You will need to go into the Circus Maximus, which was a very big arena, and you will need to go there with the other slaves and fight against lions. Well, of course, very few slaves ever came out of the Circus Maximus alive, because if you're there with no weapons at all to fight a lion, the chances are you're not going to do very well. Anyway, what happened was Androcles was released into the Circus Maximus on his own. A lion came out. It roared at him because it's very hungry. It's a very hungry lion. And it raced towards him. But then, just at the moment that Androcles thought his days were up, the lion stopped and came up to him and smelt him and licked him. Because it was the lion that he'd seen in the cave. For many years afterwards, because the Caesar forgave Androcles for his very bad running away from his owner and gave him the lion as a pet, for many years afterwards, Androcles wandered around Rome with his lion on a lead, because you can't really walk around with a lion without a lead, I imagine, and he was a very famous celebrity. People liked him. People liked Androcles and his lion. So the moral of our story is, if you do a good turn, if you do a favour to one person, the chances are that person will remember it and do a good turn back and a good favour back to you as well. So a great story, a really fantastic story. Can we put our hands together now for our prayer? Lord God, we thank you for our school. We thank you for those who are with us, our parents at home, our teachers working hard for us. Help us each and every day to work hard and to make the most of our talents. Amen. So now we have a little bit of piano playing. Rosie has been working very, very hard on her piano, practicing hard at home, and she's sent in this performance for us. Rosie, well done. You've clearly been practicing very hard. Now, of course, if you'd like to have your music featured in assembly, there's an easy way to achieve it, and that is to get your mum or your dad to send me in a video of you performing. And by the way, I don't have any musical performances for Monday, so if you can get working at that quickly and send them through to me, there's a really good chance we will have your music in assembly on Monday. So to go out, we always like to go out to a tune, don't we? We've got a tune that we really very much like. The Monkees, Daydream Believer. It's a fabulous tune, so please sing along to this, enjoy the tune, have a lovely weekend, and I look forward to being with you again on Monday.
It's because I'm short, I know.
Oh, I could hide neath the wings of the bluebird as she sings. The 6 o'clock alarm would never ring, but it rings and I rise, wipe the sleep out of my eyes. My shaven razor's cold and it stings. Cheer up, sleepy Jean, oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen? You once thought of me as a white knight on his steed. Now you know how happy I can be. Oh, and our good time starts and ends without dollar one to spend. But how much, baby, do we really need? Cheer up, sleepy Jean, oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen? Cheer up, sleepy Jean, oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen? Cheer